In some secluded part of the majestic kingdom of Lunaris lay a colossal stone edifice, a warped place where slaves were forced to do harsh work until they collapse, all the while being subjected to inhuman torture. The loud banging of a metal striking her iron cage awoke Isadora from her exhausted slumber.
Arrogant brat! You're still sporting that look even in this situation?
The slaver sneered. Her body was bruised and battered with not a single spot left intact. Just a single glance, and one could tell that her body is at its limits of endurance. Still, Isadora sported a defiant look as she glared at her tormentor, her eyes promising retribution of the worst kind.
You impudent brat!
The slaver roared as he took out his whip and unlocked the cage. Even as he brandished his weapon, Isadora didn't cower away, maintaining her defiant expression. In the end, the slaver, named Raoul, slammed his whip right beside her, missing her by an inch.
I'll let you be for now since you are of some value to us. But we'll see if you can keep acting arrogant at your new place. Anyway, what other use can a dumb, useless girl like you have other than being a punching bag?
He snorted. After that, he unceremoniously pulled at the manacles binding her wrists, forcing her to her feet. She wasn't even given time to get her footing before she was dragged away. As they passed through the large expanse of desert, the numerous slaves tacitly avoided all eye contact as they went about their strenuous work, breaking down rocks and carrying them. Because her rebellious nature, everyone here avoided her throughout the whole year she was kept here as a slave. Well, everyone except that one boy. Remembering him caused a sharp pang to emerge from her heart. Ray, a young child 2 years older than her, used to look out for her, but he ended up getting beaten to death while trying to protect her. Isadora shook off her gloomy feeling and firmed her determination. She will regain her freedom somehow and take revenge on everyone who hurt her and her dear one, including the one who destroyed her ability to speak and abandoned her in this cruel place. Isadora was made to board a carriage. They took on a long journey across the desert. Thankfully, Raoul believed her to be too weak to even stand and didn't bother chaining her legs as well. For now, she will keep up the pretense and find an opportunity to escape when they reach a town. It was only 2 days later when she found such a chance. The raucous sounds of a bustling town could be heard outside the carriage. Raoul had left some time ago, probably in quest of a good meal, but Isadora knew that he had to be keeping the carriage within his sight. Thanks to her petite body, she managed to maneuver her manacled hands such that they were now in front of her. Then, hedging to the edge of the carriage, she discreetly peeked outside. She readily spotted Raoul at a food stall, and as expected, his gaze remained on the carriage. There was no way to get off without being seen. As she searched for another way, something caught her attention. There was an archer crouched atop a building, and his arrow was drawn, pointing straight towards a woman standing not far from Isadora. From her clothes and the numerous guards around her, she appeared to be an aristocrat. So far, no one seemed to have noticed the archer, and the woman was in the weapon's direct trajectory. If she used this opportunity to create a commotion, then escape. But there was no time to weigh the odds as the assassin seemed ready to strike. Gathering all her strength, she jumped off the carriage and rushed to the woman at the fastest speed. Thankfully, the guards had no time to react, and Isadora managed to tug at her. The latter lost her balance and fell to her knees, staring at Isadora in shock.
Your Highness!
The guards shouted, but the rest of their sentence was cut off when shortly after, an arrow was embedded in the place where the woman previously stood. Isadora was stunned. So the strikingly beautiful woman she just saved was the Empress?
An assassin! Protect the Empress! He's on that building over there. Catch him!
The commotion she was waiting for finally happened, and Isadora wasted no time preparing to rush off. But as soon as she took one step away, a tug on her arm halted her. She stared at the Empress in puzzlement, and the latter gave her a kind smile.
Thank you, little girl. You just saved my life. May I know your name?
Your Highness! The carriage is here. Get inside quickly in case there are more assassins.
Isadora was distressed. knowing she needed to escape, yet not having the heart to break off that kind woman's hold. Then Raoul's voice reached her ears, sealing her doom.
I apologize if my slave caused you trouble. I'll make sure to discipline her later. Please let me take her away.
At the queen's nod, the guards who had made a human wall around the queen to protect her parted to let Raoul through. As soon as he saw the queen, he bowed deeply.
This subject humbly greets your majesty the queen.
A sense of desolation overtook Isadora. It was over now. She wasted her one chance at freedom. A horrible fate probably awaited her at whatever place she will be taken to.
She didn't cause any trouble. Quite the contrary, she just saved my life.
The queen said in her majestic tone. Raoul grinned.
If so, I will gratefully accept whatever reward your highness is willing to offer.
The queen frowned.
I don't think so. You said she's your slave, right? Then sell her to me.
Isadora's eyes widened, her heart hammering as newfound hope peeked into her gloomy existence. Raoul was taken aback.
I'm not sure your highness will find her adequate. This girl is mute and quite rebellious.
That's fine by me. No matter what, she's my benefactor and I want to be responsible for her. Just name your price. I'll buy her.
The queen's authoritative tone breached no room for argument. Raoul named his price, and, much to his pleasure, the queen readily agreed. She grinned at Isadora's confused gaze.
Allow me to formally introduce myself. My name is Arabella Lockridge, Queen of Lunaris Kingdom. Don't worry, I'll take care of you from now on. We can find you a job at the palace. What do you think?
Isadora immediately nodded, her eyes shining with gratitude. Despite the servants' protests, Arabella insisted that Isadora rode in the carriage together with her. She closely scrutinized the little girl as the latter hesitantly perched on the plush seat.
Your manners are very refined. Just like a noble. Do you also come from an aristocratic family?
Noticing Isadora's bewilderment at that question, Arabella immediately reassured her.
It's fine if you don't want anyone to find out. Whoever your family was, you probably can't go back to them now. Don't worry, I've already said that I will take care of you and I'll keep my word to the end.
Isadora's eyes watered with the gratitude she felt. She might have hit the rock bottom during the last year, but thankfully, fate allowed her to meet this kind person. She inwardly vowed to repay this saving grace.
Even if you can't tell me about your family, I hope to at least know your name.
Arabella said. Isadora nodded. Since a pen and paper wasn't available, she tried to trace the words on the plush seat. She gave the name Isa. Arabella was pleasantly surprised to find that she could write. This would make their communication much easier in the future. They arrived at a sumptuous palace shortly afterwards. As they descended, several servants rushed forward to assist the queen, all the while darting strange glances at Isadora. Shortly afterwards, a young boy appearing slightly older than Isadora came into view. He appeared dignified and imposing, his red eyes and dark hair adding to the superior feeling.
Mother.
He greeted, stopping a short distance from Arabella. His gaze then strayed to Isadora.
Who is this?
Arabella smiled cheerful.
Good thing you came out, Darius.
Arabella then related the earlier incident and made the introductions. After learning that Darius is the crown prince, Isadora curtsied to show her respect. The prince's eyes narrowed suspiciously at her actions. After learning that Isadora saved the queen, everyone warmed up to her. Everyone except Darius, who appeared almost hostile as he scrutinized Isadora. After taking a bath, having her injuries treated, and eating a copious meal, Isadora felt revived. Maria, the head maid, told Isadora that she could have a few days' rest before beginning her work at the palace. She prepared to catch some sleep, but then the door to her room burst open. Isadora was surprised to see the Darius walking in. She hurriedly bowed in respect, but he merely stared down at her condescendingly.
Tell me the truth. You approached my mother with some ulterior motive, didn't you?
When Isadora merely stared back at him expressionlessly, his face approached hers, his eyes dripping with menace as he stared down at her.
Admit it. Who sent you to spy on my mother? The first concubine. The truth is, you're not really mute, are you?
Seeing that Isadora still refused to respond, he gripped her by the collar, his expression turning all the more threatening.
I'm warning you, if you dare try anything to harm my mother, I'll let you experience a horrible death.